This is the Internet Court of Truth and Lies. It's for plaintiffs who wonder if something that they think is true, other people think is true, or if something that they think is a lie, other people think it's a lie. And the method is basically what's called enforced moderated dialogue. There's a set of questions to keep everybody on topic so you don't get crazy behavior, which is what in social media all the time, of people blurting off just emotionally without any intent associated with what they're saying. And it's intended as a tool for social media. The business model is one where there are sponsors of trials, and the participants in the trials are all paid. That keeps people taking this for real. We seem to have this going fairly well. Today's trial, I'm the plaintiff, is on a paper that was prepared for a Silicon Valley summit called the Flash Memory Summit. And now it's called the Future of Memory Storage, still FMS, in San Jose, California, basically next week. The purpose of this trial is to give people going to the summit a YouTube that they can watch on what the companies that are going into this summit, who are all the storage makers in the world. Every company that builds chips and other types of storage devices for digital storage are going to be there. The purpose of the paper is really to put an idea in their head that they have the technology today to do what we're proposing. The people who will be seeing this in California, a fair number of them know they have this technology. Just to give you an idea, this is a 1 terabyte memory chip that can hold 1 million identities for you. It looks like just a memory chip, but there's probably, and I don't know the actual number, but there's probably 16 or 32 processors in that chip, all programmed, that are controlling how the chip can fetch data, interpret it, and deliver it to the user. This is exactly the same format as the chip card that goes into your phone. Billions of these chips are already in distribution worldwide and manufactured. And all that's really required is some enhanced programming on the chips. They already, by the way, make versions of chips that can be implanted. It's done for gamers. So it can be implanted in your between your thumb and your hand, which is where the gamers usually put it, so that it can be read remotely. And if you have a phone, you can press the phone against it and talk to. What this proposal is that within the realm of current technology, these could revolutionize privacy protection in the world. The theme of this particular paper is that if you are revolutionizing privacy protection, why don't you put a wallet with it so that you can actually use the chip to buy things, use the implanted chip in your hand or wherever you put it, to buy things and to keep track of your finances in a way that nobody else can see what your finances actually are. That's the purpose of this. And we'll see, the reason for this trial is to give these guys something to watch while they're in San Jose. I've been at a number of these conferences, and most people are sitting around most of the time not having much to do. The trial has a truth that it's trying to try that says crypto wallets, the way they've actually been proposed and are being used for crypto, work for real money too. the crypto wallets you can buy don't rise to the levels of technology that are needed for these guys to show an interest. Remember, these guys are making billions of these, and crypto wallets are in the thousands. And they go, why should we invest in building 1,000 of something when we're already building 1 billion of something? The answer is, if these were crypto wallets with 1 million identities, you'll sell 1 billion of them. But of course, they don't know that. So that's the basic idea. I had talked about this a little earlier in a prior case, and I said that a later case would show you the actual code of how you build the identities. Before I get to that, in the YouTube that's on the case, on the trial case right here, that has been modified the last few minutes to have some text in it, which says notes from the trial. And I'm just going to go through those notes, and part of them are redundant on a prior trial, but there's some special things in this trial that are worth looking at and knowing about. So the book I originally wrote on how do you get your privacy back, which is how do you get your control of your own identity, your own agency back, makes the assumption, which happens to be true, that your agency is already stolen, that anybody who had the money and the will to steal information about you, everything you could possibly know about you, anybody could possibly know about you, already has all that information. We actually see that in some of the elections that have been taking place, where the targeting in the elections make use of what's called linkability, which is you'll have an identity which you think is your good identity, like your driver's license number or your address where you live. What you don't realize is that that information could get linked with other information about you by what you do on the internet. For example, what you buy on Amazon, or who you interact with, or who you email to and who emails you, and all these other things without your knowledge. That linking is the method by which your privacy has been stolen from you. The company that I warned about when I wrote this book on how to get your privacy back was a company called Palantir. This company is a truly evil company. They are the kings of linkability, linking things together in order to infer how you can be manipulated and how they can control your agency, get you to do things that you would not normally do, vote for people that you would not normally vote for, or buy things that you would not normally buy. Palantir is the company, it's a public company backed by the billionaire. Its business is the business of identity theft in the sense of linkability. I'll link your Amazon identity with your home address identity. You know, what church you go to, who your friends are, all these other things all get linked together. How much email traffic you get from somebody, and in many cases, exactly what the email says, which is crazy. Palantir's main customer has been large corporations, and they use their software for years in corporations called live capture, which is they not only can link all kinds of data about what their employees are doing, but they link what their employees are doing right this second. So if you go into a large corporation, and I've been in these places, you can go into a room that looks like a big machine room with big displays around, and it's monitoring live 20,000 employees of the company and bringing up red lines on employees that are doing things that are suspicious to the company. and they keep track of personality profiles and all these other things in order to basically punish people or do whatever they want to with people and make sure that the people are doing exactly what the company wants them to do. Sadly, Palantir doesn't care, and they will do whatever they're paid to do. We've just seen in the last couple of months that the U.S. government under Trump has just given Palantir a whole trove, all the Social Security data, everything they know about everybody's Social Security, which gets fed into now these systems. This is what they do. Palantir is a king of this, but it's been known long before Palantir how to use linking to invade your agency and actually alter how you think and reason and so forth by constructing information for you and so forth. And so the key behind getting your privacy back is a law, but there's two pieces to the law. The first piece is that you need some technology, and the technology allows you to have, and I use the word, 1 million identities. And where 1 million doesn't have to be 1 million, it can be more than that. But don't think of it like you've got 4 identities or you've got your driver's license and your passport. That's 2 identities. You have 1 million of these. And none of them, if you want it to be that way, none of them would ever be able to leave that chip. A driver's license number to the proper authority, but the number it has for your driver's license is actually a different number that will never escape that chip. And so if you ever need a new driver's license, you can prove that you are you, and they'll give you a new driver's license number without having to bring in all this documentation and sit in for an interview.
It's whoever holds the chip.
That's the reason for the implantability. But what's going on here in this thing is I'm giving you how to control it. Even if you hold the chip, the technology exists. And I'll just give you this is a Samsung device that has my technology built into it. And in this Samsung device, the memory are these 4 memory chips. And this thing right here is an ARM processor. So this is a full-scale computer right here. This is not just a board. Yeah. This is a full-scale Windows 11, whatever computer. Yeah. And you don't need that for this. This uses the technologies described in the paper, and it does exactly what I just said, which is there are secrets in this that cannot be gotten from it. So I can have possession of this, and if I don't know how to get this to give up the secret, and I can tell it's actually set up so that it can never give up the secret that it's holding, except in a form that another device like this that's been mated to this can share the secret without ever giving it up to any other agent.
Yeah, true. I see that, but it's all just a question of physical pieces. As if you assemble all the physical pieces you need, then whoever has them can do what they want. So I may have a chip and I have my special code that's to me that's stuck on my wallet or whatever it is, and then and all the other ancillary pieces that I need to communicate with whatever system I want to. Whoever owns that, all of that, can do it, can't they?
No, they cannot. No, well, just to give you an example of what I've just said, this particular one, because I know the code that's in this already. This is one of the things that I have the patents on and uses my technology. Okay. So I know how this one works, and I knew the engineers that worked at Samsung. No copy of this can exist. It cannot exist. It's just not possible.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that
no physical copy of this could exist.
All right, yeah, but whatever steps an individual has to do to prove their identity to whatever system they're interacting with, you need these physical items.
Correct.
And someone else who possesses a physical item.
So in this paper, I give you how to do that, which basically says if you want master control of the identity, you can tell this device that the master control requires the permission of more than one person. The way this would work, and we actually have this working in Europe right now, and it's used to secure data in Russia, believe it or not, that the Russians can't even get. And the way it's done is that maybe your wife, and you're required before it will give up the data it can. It's still not giving up its unique identity, but it's giving up data that could act like you. But you can stipulate that this data requires both me and my wife to be present to do it. And you can also say me and my wife and my lawyer, or me and my wife, or me and my lawyer. You could say any combination of that. Or you can say 15 people. And you can list off 10 of the people that are in other countries with different laws that you trust. And you can say all of those people have to be present and willing to do it before it gives up that identity. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting into the really hard way. Since you can't decap these things and read this data off of it, it's the most that somebody can do is destroy it. But you can copy this with the same constraints. So you can say, I'll have a copy of this. Now, the identity that nobody can ever see that's inside of this, the copy will expose the same ability to prove the knowledge of the identity, but they will not have the same identities. It's crazy. But all under the same control. So it still has to be you plus all these other people that you list off before they could get to the control of this. And you can put it in your will. You could say, if I'm proven dead, then these people will be able to get this data off to find out what I've been doing. What I argue in this YouTube is now, once you have this idea that everybody has a million identities, and most people will not need all million during their lifetime, but if somebody needed 100 billion identities during their lifetime, they could have that too. The definition of this doesn't change that. And 100 billion can be protected by a million in this.
By identities, you mean a wallet, essentially?
No, a digital identity. So by identity, this is the you that Amazon sees.
Yeah.
This is the you that the federal government sees. This is the you that the cop sees to determine whether or not you have a valid driver's license. Those are all identities. What happens in the real world is these things get linked behind your back. And out of that, they can do all kinds of things that you don't want them to be doing. Now, Andrew, I sat on the European Commission for 2.5 years on privacy in the late 90s. And the best way to put it is the 80 attorneys that were in the room, European attorneys and so forth. Yeah. For those of y'all who don't know Europe, I think Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is a joke. This is what we all are hearing right now is what I was telling them in 1997 and 98. Because really nothing has changed. Back then, though, I couldn't prove that you could put that stuff on something this big and you can implant. Back then, it was going to go in the phones, even though the phones didn't exist yet. And the way I said it was it could go in your watch. But now it can be implanted. But the key is you can't give up this idea that you've got a million identities that are all unlinkable. They cannot be linked without your permission. And then you only need one law to fix privacy and a whole bunch of other things on the internet. And the law simply says you're prohibited from linking any identities that the owner of the identities, i.e. that chip, says you cannot link them. and then you go to jail if you link them. And that will stop Amazon from keeping track of the, what the people on your street address. They don't know your street address. They know what it tells you is a code that will allow the post office to allow them to deliver, but they will not see your actual street address. So they can't link the other buyers on your street. Okay. Which is what they're doing today.
Okay? Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff. And so the European Commission partially implemented what I wanted, but they wouldn't they couldn't buy in, the lawyers couldn't buy into having more than one identity. That was crazy. I fought it, and there's a bunch of us in Europe fought it, and we couldn't get it through. But they put in a lot of things that the U.S. didn't put in, but it was good. A lot of the things they did was very good. But they could have had a much simpler system if they had done the way we were.
I suppose the question is, which identity is responsible?
Yeah, the identity that's responsible is the identity that you've said is responsible for whatever you said it's responsible for.
So you could have a master identity.
Yeah, so if you read this paper, you'll see there is a master identity, and the master identity, there's actually several types of masters in here. But in any given master, you can have more than just you required to modify or even read the master. You could say, I don't know if you've ever heard of something called split key, but you can have two keys that get XORed together to be the real key, or you can have 50 keys that are XORed together, they're the real key. And there are techniques that are like split key that give you full logic. You can say, I want 3 of these people and 2 of those people present before the master can be used, or me present before this submaster can be used. In other words, you can define the authentication that's required, and the chip itself will protect that in a way that cannot be discerned by the outside world. And the most they can do is destroy the chip, in which case you've got a backup master. And you can do it. There are even ways that, for example, there's a car accident and the chip gets destroyed. You can recreate a chip for yourself and under rules.
It's getting complicated. You have a bunch of sort of master chips that you have to keep hold of and protect. You have a bunch of executors who you have to communicate with in order to do import.
No, you can have what you want. You can have what you want. There is a business here. Yeah. And the business is giving people what they want and what the government says should be protected. It's not that complicated. This whole thing is actually a specification in the language that's used by Samsung for coding the security in this chip, used by Seagate and Western Digital and LG, all the storage makers in the world use this language for my security, and all storage in the world uses my security. This is the actual language. And so this is the full complexity of it. There's your private key, XORing some things, and 2 or 3, something called Shamir, that is explained in here, but it's a way to, a split key can do certain things, but a Shamir authentication sharing is a more flexible from a logic perspective of what can be ORed and XORed and so forth. It's called multi-sig or multi-signature.
Yeah.
This stuff exists. It's just that you have a lot of freedom, and the reason there's a lot of freedom is that different individuals will have different requirements, and in different ages during your life you may have different requirements. The wallet that you originally hold could really restrict the identities you can take on. So if you're 7 years old, you can only take on certain identities, and it just takes your parents to alter the identities because you're not yet old enough to be
So there'll
trusted.
be a whole series of transitions through your life as you get into more
Now,
complicated.
the master can code those transitions, not code, but he can stipulate. And here's the stipulation. By the way, at the time, this was back in 2018, the company in the world that really understood this was called the Electronic Team Inc. And it's www Electronic US, which turns out to be in Ukraine. So this is I'm just saying, this is crazy. Some of the best existing implementations of this stuff is in Estonia and Romania, and has been. But the Electronic Team, which is this company, they're really an interesting company. And this is written up in here on how this kind of works. So the key is not only can you keep all of your money in a place that you can control completely, and that no authority can cause you to give it up without your will. And if you stipulate the will of somebody else or other people or organization or lawyers that you've got in other countries or whatever, that stuff cannot be given up without that. So what the purpose of all that is to block linking what you do in one life with what you do in another one of your life. And all of that stuff is being used right now against you. I guarantee you it's being used against you, no matter who you are. And it's being used to make money on the fact that they got you nailed. No matter how you try to hide from them, you're not hiding. You just think you are. My argument is that if you make these identity chips your crypto wallet, you give people a reason to like them, because now they can use these things to protect their money and how it's used. So my argument is that this is in fact the truth, and I'm certain we have the technology to do this. I could be happy to talk to any serious group that thinks that we don't have the technology, who brings the right people to the conversation, so that I'll get the engineers shaking their head. Yeah, we could. The whole truth in this paper is the technical details. It's spec the same way I spec the security that are in all storage devices out there today. And so the spec that's here, I'm the guy who wrote that spec. It's got additions to it that the original spec. And the addition is a crypto wallet, SP, what's called a security provider, which supplies all the identity controls for security. It's the whole truth. Is it nothing but the truth? I think I would have said yes. What's the deceit? I would have said there is no deceit. Is the deceit intended? The truth intended? Yes, the truth is intended. What's the motivation? The motivation is to be informative. I have been trying to tell people about this. There are forces in the world that do not want me telling people this, because they know they would no longer be able to do the things that they're doing today, like Palantir and Peter Thiel. So they don't want me talking about it. They haven't yet killed me. What's the social acceptability? By the way, I'm not alone. There are at least 100 other people I know believe in this. Very few of them are willing to talk about it, because they're in much more dangerous situations than that. What's the social acceptability of the truth or lie? I think this should be out there and everybody should know about it. What label would improve it? I just said this is true. So let's go over the jurors. And I realize this all sounds crazy, but it ain't crazy. I don't know how to say it any other way than I've been saying it, and so forth and so on. This paper is actually the spec. So it will translate into a trusted computing group spec in the storage work group, basically instantaneously. And by the way, the storage work group in the trusted computing group has seen this spec, and they've been told by their bosses no, because their bosses profit from knowing everything about you. Just to be clear. The real problem is the people have to say, we want this. And despite the people are trying to say, no, he's making you give up your privacy. It's the opposite. I've worked for certain of the government things long ago. They know everything I do all the time. The only thing that saves me is that a lot of them agree with me. They're not the top guys.
Oh, I believe you. Trust me, Bob. I believe you.
Crazy. So juror one.
That's me, Bob.
Yep.
Based on what you've said, leaves a lot to think about. And yeah, I would love to have my privacy and not the government know every single thing about me, or the equivalent of Amazon here is Takealot, where they know everything about you. And the thing is, people have or organizations have profited in the trillions from it. And that's why they're not willing to give it up.
What they don't realize, the thing that they don't really realize, and unfortunately getting through these upper echelons, which are not necessarily smart people, them is hard because they think it threatens it. They don't realize that they're putting themselves in danger. They see the evident danger of giving people control over their own agency. And they say, we don't have anything to do with that.
I want control of my identity. I don't want my identity in the hands of other organizations, especially talent. And I think it's that need for control as well. That's another human thing that, for power.
That has a lot of friction against it. And what's needed is they need to know that there's a simple law that says that if the person says, I don't want my Amazon identity to be provided to anybody else other than Amazon, and Amazon can't sell it to anybody else, then you have very simple laws that says you just simply must respect the agency of the person. And here's how we define agency. And it all needs to be under complete digital control with sufficient protections around the digital control. Juror two.
I agree with you. I think it took me a while to come to agree with you because I'm glad you held this one. And this is the one that changed my mind. I'm glad I'm not going to be the one to test it out. I don't think it'll be in my lifetime, but I think it will happen. And I wondered, if you die with a chip in you, is there going to be something that dies in the chip, or it will quit functioning, or can they cut it out, take it?
They can cut it out and take it, but they can't do anything with it. Because depends on how you leave the chip. So how you set the chip up, you can say, if I die, okay, I want these entities to certify I'm dead.
Okay.
And if that's certified that I'm dead, then these other entities can now get at this data in these restricted ways.
And so there's no way with your system that the government will figure out a way to backdoor it?
No, because we solved that problem a while back, which is and I'm going to get into a longer story. I have to mention something. Okay, so something called common criteria, which is a security standard that these chips have to go to. And if they go to level 10, then even the design of the chip has audit and third-party audit on it, let alone the manufacturer of the chip, let alone all the other things downstream on the chip and whether or not it functions exactly and without having a backdoor. All these things are there. We have examples of this in use today, which are these, and most of them are like level 6. Level 1 or level 2 common criteria is what you normally see for a phone card. It might be level 2 or level 3. And we can get up to level 10, but it makes the chips very hard. It makes it very hard to get into the manufacturer of the chips in such a way that they do anything other than what they say they do. Now, you could have a government produce chips for its own people that could have a back door, because you just say to the people, you can't buy these chips, you have to buy them from us. And so that's the reason to have these laws. They basically say you can't do these things. There's certain
Thank
things
you.
they can't do. So Jiro 3,
That would be me. And when I say this device will self-destruct upon my death, could that happen?
yeah. So you can actually say, so this particular card has exactly that self-destruct in it, but I don't know if I can get you to see it. But do you see that second line that says PSID?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've got a barcode reader and it reads this PSID number, that's my number. I'm the inventor of that.
Okay.
What that number does is it allows you to talk to the chip, and it says zeroize yourself and put yourself back into factory state.
Oh, wow. That's
And
wild.
so everything that's recorded on that chip is forever gone and can never be retrieved.
See, it's crazy that you do this though, because I keep my digital footprint is massive, and
Yeah.
I try to keep it encrypted to the max. Even though, however, it still keeps getting hacked in certain areas. I'm still trying to figure out which areas I can make better or whatever. Yeah, it's this.
It's you're in the same state that all the rest of us are. We have no options. They've already blocked us. And so they intentionally are making your life hard.
Oh yeah, I believe it. To the like week before last, like I told you, I'd had an incident happen. I need a self-destruct button, literally.
What you really want is a self-destruct button that's under your control so that you can change how and when it self-destructs.
I need
And
no hackers allowed to get into it because they keep trying.
yeah, so these things are basically this ability to basically say, to be master of this chip, you have to be me, you have to be this guy in Switzerland and this other guy in
I'm gonna put you as my second in command on
Taiwan,
mine.
and the guy in Taiwan is a lawyer, a lawyer I have in South Africa.
I think I'm gonna make all the truth court mods.
Now all of a sudden I can change this as long as they're cooperating with me, and this thing is telling them who my identity is for this purpose, and they have to prove their identity using the same thing for their purpose.
World's gone.
That's how it all works, and that keeps the hackers out.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. So Juror 4.
Yeah, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I think in theory, funnily enough, it's something I've been thinking about in a different context, talking about for a while about putting your identity on a blockchain whenever you're doing certain kinds of transactions. But
yeah, in fact, this proposal is, if you read the paper, it is a blockchain.
Yeah, that's right. So
it's just a local plot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's wonderful not for anyone to be able to trace your daily activity in lots of different areas down to the person that is you. Yeah.
Where you buy gas.
Yeah. But I think about it, I'm thinking about it in a sort of psychological way. When I was young, for example, the world that I lived in, I was my own validation, just my presence, me. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to turn up at the bank and they recognized who I was. It was me validating myself as I went about the world. But now it seems with these millions of identities that you're talking about, it's like our personality is now being fractionating up. It's just being dispersed. And I wonder what the psychological effect would this be over time.
Well, it would actually be better because you can do these as hierarchies, right? So you can say, for this role that I have, which is, let's say, sign up for a new service role. You can define these roles pretty much any way you want. And as long as the law says that sign up role cannot be used for these other purposes because you prohibit it, then the right answer is that you should be able to go in like you can with a driver's license and get into a lot of things, get into the bar. But nobody can copy you. The guy who's running the bar has the chip too, and he gets his payroll because of it, because he can show that it's really him that should get the money. All this stuff just works, but it does take a complete system. And the argument I've got is that we do know how to do this. I've been proposing this for 30 years, and I don't have technical people objecting to me unless they are being paid by somebody to object to me. I've got plenty of people who are technical who that what I've been saying is true. And I'm not alone in the people who understand. And you just said it, this is blockchain technology. And it's called public key cryptography. Public key cryptography predates blockchain, but blockchain moves all money in the world every day. This is in the trillions. It's probably $10 trillion a day moving into interbank systems around the world using this same technology, and there's never been a pile up. This is since around 1980, 91, 92. So this stuff
This
is
is the
really,
Swift system.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones. There's three of them, but that's the big one. And there's another couple. The Chinese have their own, of course, the Russians have their own. But they all operate the same way. So the Russian banks can talk.
Yeah.
It's a long story. Juror 5. Is Juror 5 here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Trouble.
Yeah, sorry, my network isn't the best. Basically, I did agree with you on this case, but one thing that I wanted to bring up with you was, since the systems are decentralized, isn't that gonna cause an issue if you lose your information and you don't have backups of anything? Isn't that gonna be a problem to access your information again, since the companies that provide these services, they don't keep that information on hand?
And so the right answer is that the way you should do it is there's the chip that's embedded in your hand. Okay. And it's the primary master. And as long as it exists, the other masters cannot be used. But if it ceases to exist, another master can be taken out of, you can have your mother keeping it. And she can't use it. Nobody can use it except you. You can't even use it until this chip. You can prove that this chip, and by having the right people come in, that this chip is gone. Then the designated second master can become the master, and you can have it implanted. And it's completely current. Everything is current. Sounds crazy, but it's true. So there's a way to do it. But you have to have multiples, but there has to be a way in which you stipulate how the hierarchy of control works. And again, you don't have to be the person to have all the knowledge. There needs to be suppliers that you could trust and laws that are written that basically enforce these things. And of course, what I've said before is if you're in a government that's crazy, they can try to do things that are against the law or but they'll get exposed. But it's better than the system we have today. Juror 6.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I do think it is very interesting, especially in this day and age. Privacy is a big thing. So if implemented correctly, I do think it can be of benefit.
Yeah, me too. And that's the key, is if implemented correctly. That's the thing that I've had the hardest time doing.
It's 20 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Juror 7.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I do agree with what you're saying as well. If implemented correctly, and I don't think your idea is far-fetched as well, since of neurolinks that's being already chips implanted in the brain so that people can get into the cyber network and things for internet access. So if you get that into, you have all the knowledge of the world, of the internet, basically. So I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. I do agree with you.
Juror 8.
Yeah, I also agree. This tech would empower users with total financial and autonomy. But I wonder, would governments go for a society without taxes?
It's going to take some work. Okay. So I'm always looking for the right company that will go for this and go for a complete enough picture of it so that all they have to do is chop one of the requirements out, and all of a sudden you've got a back door.
Okay.
And so the right answer is they've got to do all the requirements, and finding a group with sufficient power to do it. Just give you my personal opinion. If Steve Jobs were still alive, because I knew him pretty well, he would be doing this. He did it on his Macs. I don't know if y'all know that, but they're
I
really
was
secure developments. Yeah.
I was also about to ask the same thing. Wasn't Steve Jobs working on the same thing?
He and I worked on it together in
Oh,
the
okay.
early 2000s. So he was very aware of what I was doing.
But
But
how much would it cost to do something like this for everyone?
back then it was going to be expensive, but nowadays it's very doable. This would be a project inside of Apple, for example, but it would be, I'm guessing, maybe 30 people could do this
Makes
inside of
sense.
Apple, and 10 groups of 3 people.
We should start something up like this, Bob. Right
Huh?
here. We should be one of those groups to start up something like this.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I'm sorry to go over an hour, but I thank y'all for the opportunity to actually go make my case, which I did a bad job of earlier.
Good try.
This is the article that I said I was going to try later with the details. And so this has the details in it.